I froze, unable to believe what I was seeing. I blinked severally just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating. I stood with teary eyes as I watched my best friend Sophia and my husband Derek being intimate on my favorite couch in my sitting room. Come on, Derek, Vivian is so daft she'll never guess anything. It's been 3 years since we started this, and she hadn't any idea about us. Sophia, my best friend, said. Feeling a bit uncomfortable, Derek stood up, cleaning the stain of her gloss from his mouth. But it's wrong, Sophia, I'm beginning to feel guilty. We can't keep doing this to her, he said. Derek, I know you love your wife, and I'm not gonna change that. But I just want some pieces of you. I'm not stingy like Vivian, who doesn't want to share. Come on, Dee, she said, placing a hand on his chest. Derek softened the moment she touched him. All right, but let's not do this in the house, it's too risky. I thought she has gone out for some official duties and won't be back soon. Let's enjoy this time, we might not get another opportunity to do this here again, Sophia said, wrapping her hands around Derek's neck and smiling seductively. At that moment my heart broke into 1,000 pieces. For the last 5 years, I had lived what I thought was a steady life. Not perfect, no, perfection was for the movies. But steady and safe. Derek and I had been together since university, slowly growing roots in the soil of shared goals and parallel dreams. And Sophia, sweet, fearless Sophie, has been my friend since childhood. We had sleepovers where secrets were whispered into pillows, made promises over pinky fingers and tears, and walked each other through every heartbreak. I trusted them both with part of myself no one else had touched. I leaned my back against the wall as tears dropped uncontrollably. Broken, I booked a ride and waited for the driver to come pick me up. I went back to the office because it was the only place that came to mind at that moment and the only place I could find solace, or so I thought. I locked myself up in my office and cried my eyes out. Derek, why Sophia, my best friend? I kept questioning as I sobbed. Suddenly I heard my phone ringing. I wiped my eyes and looked at the screen. It was my husband, Derek, that was calling. The call ended before I could pick it up. I held the phone looking at it as I waited for him to call back, which he did. I picked the call and kept quiet. Hey baby, how are you doing? Yes. I hesitated for a second. I'm good, I replied, my voice a whisper. Are you all right? You sound a bit tired, he asked. I'm all right, was the only word I could say. All right. I called to know if you've gotten to your destination, and to let you know that I'm already missing you badly, Derek said, and my heart broke again at the lies he's still spilling. I was quiet for some seconds. The lump in my throat wouldn't allow me speak. I was in pain, not physically but emotionally and mentally. Hello babe, you there? I heard him say. It was cancelled, I'll be coming back home soon, I said all of a sudden. I was shocked at what I said because that wasn't what I wanted to say, but it just came out. Oh, okay, I'll be expecting you then. See you later. Love you, he said and hung up. I dropped the phone on the table and smirked. Love, I whispered as I felt another pain piercing my heart. No, Derek, you don't love me. You should be with the one you deserve, and I'll make sure of that, I said and brought out my journal and started writing. Few weeks later, I walked slowly down the quiet street, heels clicking against the cracked pavement in rhythm with the faint hum of Lagos evening traffic. My office blouse was slightly wrinkled from the day's tension, but my makeup remained intact, polished, just like my act. I held my bag close, not for fear of pickpockets, but like a shield, a protective barrier between my aching chest and the world. Today, just like yesterday, I would walk through the gate of our modest home, smile, and ask Derek, my husband of 5 years, how his day was. And he would smile back, kiss me on the cheek like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't spent the afternoon wrapped around Sophia, my best friend since childhood. I had known for 3 weeks. The first was when I caught them, and the odd message preview on Derek's phone. Should I still come over after she leaves? He'd claimed it was a client from his logistics business. Then it was Sophia canceling plans repeatedly, with vague excuses and too many girl, I'm just so tired messages that didn't ring true. The confirmation was when I saw them through the living room window. Sophia's laugh, the same one I once adored, floated through my own walls like a ghost. But tonight, as every night since, I rehearsed my lines before reaching the gate. I'm home. Work was fine. No, I'm not too tired to cook. Of course, I still trust you. Because what do you do when betrayal walks hand in hand with people you love? You survive. You bide your time. You gather the pieces of your dignity like shards of glass, careful not to cut yourself. I had no grand plan for revenge, not yet. Right now it was survival. Meal. Serve dinner. Listen to his lies and pretend they weren't slowly hollowing me out. But I kept my journal. I saved messages. I watched. And as I passed the neighbor's hibiscus bush and reached my front door, I exhaled. I would walk in and play along again. But I was no fool. I wasn't breaking. I was waiting. Derek heard the metal gate creak before he saw me. I never slammed the gate like Sophia. I was quiet, graceful. Too graceful for someone as ordinary and cowardly as he felt. He straightened on the couch, casually turning the football match back on. His hands fidgeted with the TV remote, but his ears strained to catch the sound of my shoes crossing the tiled floor. "Good evening," I said softly, my voice calm, maybe a little too calm. He turned, managing a small smile. "Baby, welcome. How was work?" Smiled. A soft, knowing, unbothered smile that sent a chill down his spine. "Fine. Traffic wasn't too bad today. That was all. No questioning. No subtle accusations. No tears." He half wished to just scream, throw something, demand answers. But I never did. Derek wasn't proud of it. Course not. When it started with Sophia, it was a mistake, one he didn't even try hard to stop. Had been easy, familiar. They already laughed together, and she'd always been flirty, even when we were all friends. I never noticed. Or maybe I always did and simply trusted him too much. At first, Derek convinced himself he deserved the attention. I had become too career-focused, too structured. But over time he saw it wasn't that I stopped loving him. It was that he had stopped being worth that love. Now, every quiet meal I served, every folded shirt, every peck on the cheek felt like a reminder that I knew. He noticed my journal once when I left it on the table. She never did that before. He thought. He didn't open it, he didn't have to. The silence was louder than anything I could have written. I was waiting. Waiting for what he didn't know. For him to confess. Leave. For everything to collapse. Maybe. I was stronger than he'd ever realized. Meanwhile, back at Sophia's house, she lay on her bed staring at her phone screen, her heart pounding. Looking at my photo, the one I posted barely 10 minutes ago, staring back at her. Composed. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't taken my husband and turned our bond into betrayal. Had been months now. What started as a harmless flirtation became something dark, secret, and shameful. And the worst part wasn't that I hadn't confronted her. It was that I had not changed. Still checking on her mom in the village. Still liking her posts. Still saying, "I love you, sis," when we texted. Sophia had always been the daring one. The louder one. But now, she felt like a shadow standing beside my quiet power. She kept wondering if I had already planned my exit or vengeance. Or maybe, just maybe, I was choosing to forgive them both in the most devastating way, by letting them live with their guilt, untouched, undisturbed, and unraveling. Very early the next day, Derek stood up from the bed. He rushed to the bathroom and took a shower while I laid awake on the bed. I stood up and went to the kitchen to prepare his breakfast. I was still on it when he rushed to the kitchen and planted a kiss on my forehead and cheek. "Don't wait up for me, I'll be late," he said. "What will you be doing?" I asked calmly. "I've got a lot on my table I need to clear, and I've got to meet up with a business partner for a crucial meeting later in the day. So I might not come back home till tomorrow," he said and rushed out the door without eating his breakfast. I watched as he left in a hurry without looking back. I offed the gas and trashed the food in the waste bin. I made a cup of tea and sat on the couch. It was Saturday and I usually don't work on weekends. I sipped from the cup of tea as I remembered the text message I saw on his phone. The last time was mind-blowing. I would really like a taste of it once again. He sent it to Sophia. A tear escaped my eyes as I sipped again from the cup of tea I was holding. An hour later, I stood up and went to take a shower. The scent of lavender clung faintly to the air, wafting from the bath salts I had poured into the water out of habit. The bathroom was wrapped in a hush that only solitude and devastation could produce. I hadn't spoken a word in hours, not since the last sentence on my husband's phone seared itself into my consciousness like fire into silk. I can't stop thinking about last night. She'll never know. Sent from my husband to my best friend. My best friend. The woman who knew every corner of my home and every page of my heart. The tub was filled nearly to the brim, warm water kissing the curve of my shoulders as I curled my legs beneath my arms, hugging my knees like a lifeline. My skin was flushed pink from the heat, but the tremble in my fingers didn't stop. It wasn't from cold. It was the tremor of something unraveling inside of me. Tears trailed quietly down my face, mixing seamlessly with the steam, unnoticed except for the salt sting they left behind. I wasn't sobbing. That had passed an hour ago. Now I simply was, a body in a tub, a heart in pieces, a mind suspended in the agony of realization. The betrayal wasn't just in the act. It was in the conspiracy of silence. The fact that it had gone on long enough for messages like that to be exchanged, careless, confident, and cruel. The reality hit me with a fresh wave of nausea. I tilted my head back against the cold ceramic of the tub, letting my eyes fall shut. The images came unbidden. Sophia laughing in my kitchen last week, glass of wine in hand, saying how lucky I was to have a husband like Derek who still looked at me like that. Derek kissing my forehead this morning before work, telling me not to wait up. They had both looked me in the eye and lied to my face. A bitter sob clawed its way up my throat, but I swallowed it. I was tired of noise. Tired of pretending. The silence, for all its cruelty, was honest. I stayed in the tub until the water cooled and my skin pruned. Only then did I rise, slowly, every motion a negotiation with a body heavy with grief. I reached for a towel, wrapping it around myself more for comfort than modesty, and stepped out onto the chilled tile. In the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Red eyes, pale lips, shoulders slumped with the weight of things I never asked to carry. But beneath that wreckage there was something else. Flicker, spark. Maybe it was fury. Maybe it was the first thread of resolve. Either way, it was mine, not borrowed from Derek or shared with Sophia. I walked into the bedroom, water dripping from my hair to the floor without care. My phone still sat on the nightstand. I stared at it. It hadn't rung. No message. Not even guilt from either of them. But I picked it up, opened the camera and looked into it. "I know," I whispered, voice hoarse but steady. "I know what you did." I hit record, then pause. I didn't know why, not yet. Maybe to remember this moment when I finally walked away. Maybe to remind myself that pain has a beginning and, somewhere, an end. I dressed in loose clothes, made another cup of tea I barely touched, and sat by the window till night. The betrayal hadn't faded, it wouldn't, not for a long time, but the stillness around me no longer felt like collapse. Felt like the first step. The silence had become mine. 3 months passed. I had stopped writing in my journal. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I had said everything that needed to be said to myself. I now had my own bank account, separate from the joint one I had shared with Derek. Quietly opened. Quietly funded. I had also applied for a transfer at my firm, not to another department, but to a different city. Buja. A promotion was part of the package. I had accepted it 2 weeks ago. Derek didn't know. Sophia didn't need to know either. After making sure I was ready, I prepared myself to confront them, and it happened during the weekend. It was on a Saturday. The kind of slow morning I used to spend making akara and pap while Derek scrolled through his phone. But today was different. I had dressed simply. Pink top, denim skirt, and hair pulled back in a neat puff. Derek was sitting on the couch. His phone was face down for once. I stood in front of him, arms relaxed by my side. "Where's Sophia today?" asked gently. His face froze. looking at me like he wasn't expecting it. I let the silence stretch. Vivian, he stammered, voice cracking as he called my name for the first time after a long while. I've known for months, Derek, I said softly. From the text, from her lies, from your shift in rhythm. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He swallowed hard as he kept staring at me. Look, I'm not here to fight, I continued. I'm leaving. That woke him up. What? His voice finally came out. You can't leave, Vivian, please, he tried to plead. I got a job in Abuja. I'll resume next week. And I've packed most of my things. The rest I'll send for them when I'm ready. And you can keep the house. You'll need it if you two plan to play house together, said. Tears welled in his eyes. Vivian, please. I shook my head. Don't. You never really said sorry. Not to me. Not to the woman who gave you her best, her life, her everything. He stood, hands reaching for me. I stepped back, not wanting him to touch me. I forgive you, Derek. That's why I'm walking out of here without screaming, fighting, or breaking something. But forgiveness isn't a permission slip. It's closure. Vivian, please, I'm sorry, forgive me, please, I beg you, he pleaded with tears in his eyes. I forgive you, Derek, but there's no us anymore. You betrayed whatever we had, and broke our bond by having an affair with my best friend. There's no turning back, Derek. It's over, I said and walked away. Later that day, I went to Sophia's apartment. I knocked on her door. She opened it to find me, Vivian, standing at her door. Can we talk? I asked, my tone even. Sophia braced herself because she already knew why I was there. Derek had called to inform her, so she knew already. Please, Vivian, I didn't mean. You did, I interrupted. You meant it. Every time. But that's not why I'm here. Sophia stared, confused. I wanted to look you in the eye, I said with a very calm voice. Because you will remember this look, this moment, for the rest of your life. I'm not cursing you. I'm setting you free. Free from pretending we're still friends. Free from the guilt you try to dress up in excuses. I said and turned to leave. Wait, Sophia whispered, tears filling her eyes. Don't you hate me? I smiled softly, sadly. No. I just finally love myself more, I said and walked away, leaving her drowning in her tears. The moment I walked through the gate from Sophia's place, I heard Derek on the phone shouting angrily at someone on the phone. I stood still, wanting to know who he was talking to, and then I heard him mention Sophia. You caused it, Sophia, you did. You made me hurt Vivian. And even when I wanted to quit, you kept pushing it. Now she's hurt and has decided to leave. Are you happy now? He yelled. I shook my head and walked in, heading straight to the bedroom I once held sacred, which I thought was a special space for Derek and me. And now, it's just like any other space in the house, and it hurts to know that I have been sleeping on this same bed, the same space he has shared with some other woman. I started packing the rest of my stuff in a small box, and after I was done, I looked around and made sure that nothing that belonged to me remained. Baby, please, I'm sorry, I heard him say. I turned to look at him standing at the door. Don't leave me, baby. I promise it will never happen again. This is the last, he said, eyes blood red from crying as he knelt down. Hands clasped together in a pleading gesture. Desperation was etched into every line of his face. His shirt was wrinkled, half untucked, as though he wore it in a hurry. I stood in front of him, ignoring his pleadings, and brought out my phone to book a ride to the airport. It started raining immediately after I booked the ride, and in a few minutes the driver called. I took my box and walked away without a word, leaving him behind on his knees. 1 year later, after I left Derek and relocated to Abuja, the city hummed beneath me as I stood on the balcony of my apartment in Was 2. I had grown into my new life. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. I worked with a quiet brilliance that earned me a department lead position. I didn't think of Kelechi every day anymore. Whenever I did, it was like remembering a past version of myself. A softer, quieter woman who had to learn strength through silence. I still didn't date anyone. Not because I was closed off, but because, for the first time, I wasn't trying to fill a space. I was living fully. Some nights I would write in my journal again, not out of pain but gratitude. Gratitude for my resilience, my clarity, and my peace. Back in Lagos, the house was still the same. The wall paint was duller now, and the gate creaked louder. Derek still slept on one side of the bed, even though there was no one beside him anymore. Sophia had moved out 3 months after I left. Not because they had a fight. It was just a slow fading, like guilt growing too heavy to carry. He tried dating again severally, but no one looked at him the way I did, with love and respect. He often replayed that day, my voice steady, my spine straighter than he'd ever seen. He didn't blame me for leaving. Who would? He blamed himself for only realizing my worth after I stopped making myself small enough to be overlooked. While Sophia didn't talk about Lagos anymore. She started over in Port Harcourt, working in a small NGO and keeping mostly to herself. She had lost 2 people she loved, one as a husband she never should have touched, the other as a sister she could never replace. She tried reaching out to me once. A message. "I hope you're okay. You deserve happiness." No reply. But that was okay. Some silences are answers. She no longer chased forgiveness. Instead, she tried to become someone who wouldn't need it in the first place. Back in Abuja, I sat at a cafe on a Saturday morning, sunlight pouring over my journal. I wrote one sentence. I let go of the storm, and now I am the calm. And I closed the book, while smiling. For real this time. Please click on the subscribe button to watch more interesting stories.